Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ora News broadcast on this Saturday evening. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition of the Ora News, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. And now, today's news. Several of the political groups are asking for an investigation into the allegations against the armed forces. The parliamentary groups of the Socialist Party and the Socialist Movement for Integration Party have submitted a request to the Parliament for the formation of an inquiry commission to investigate the allegations of the opposition about the armed forces being involved in drug trafficking. The news was made public by the vice leader of the Socialist Parliamentary Group, Taulant Bala. He said, "The Socialist Parliamentary Group, together with the Parliamentary Group of the Socialist Movement for Integration, submitted a request to the Parliament for the formation of an inquiry commission for the full verification of the facts and evidence to prove or refute the charges of the senior political representatives of the Democratic Party against the armed forces. The complete clarification of motives and reasons of the facts and evidence by which the allegations are supported have a special significance for the image of the armed forces and for a member country of NATO," said Bala. He noted that the inquiry commission will be guaranteed to prove whether the accusations are true or not. He continued, "The accusations raised in the recent days by high political representatives implicating the armed forces and the military bases in criminal activity, specifically the transportation of narcotics, charges which, if not based on facts and concrete evidence, openly violate the image of the armed forces. The Socialist Parliamentary Group and the Parliamentary Group of the Socialist Movement for Integration Party demanded the establishment of an inquiry commission for the verification of these accusations, which have been publicly articulated by senior political representatives of the Democratic Party against the armed forces," Bala said. The Socialist MP said that the Commission of Inquiry demands the verification of the evidence and facts on which these senior political representatives have supported their charges. Bala continued, "The establishment of this commission will be seen as a sure way to prove or disprove the accusations of the senior political representatives. The Parliamentary Inquiry Committee will require the examination of the evidence and facts on which these senior political representatives have supported their allegations against the armed forces of the Republic of Albania. This commission will also inform the public about the truth or falsehood of these charges in order to restore the stolen dignity of the armed forces," explains Bala. A journalist had his life threatened for reporting on the drug situation in Saranda. A journalist of the Democratic Renaissance, Telnis Skuci, who has recently published an investigative report in relation to drug storehouses and the means of transportation of drugs in Saranda, has had his life threatened. This fact was published by the Democratic Party. It has published the threatening message that was sent to the journalist. The Democratic Party requested the government to take the necessary measures for his safety. The Democratic Party, through its media coordinator, Silvi Bardhi, has denounced this event. The Democratic Party condemns blackmailing and urges the government and the Prime Minister to take action, and encourages journalists and media in their role of informing, and stands beside them in these difficult days. Evidence that key state structures are involved in drug trafficking has emerged," she said. According to Bardhi, such threats come from ministers and cannot be made without the knowledge and without the blessing of the Prime Minister. After the declaration of the representative of the Democratic Party, the journalist was threatened again. The severed head of a goat was left at the door of his apartment. A representative of the opposition has spoken out against the removal of some of the powers of the president. The Democratic Party has denounced the removal of the president's power to appoint the head of the institution for the verification of assets. In a media statement, the Democratic MP, Oerd Bulukbashi, said that this is an attack on the independent institutions. The Democratic Party condemns the new attack of the Meta-Rama duo on the independent institutions, he said. After illegally usurping the head of the HIDAA, they are trying to legalize the political grip of this institution, placing the appointment procedure under their control. The majority is removing another jurisdiction from the President of the Republic of Albania, taking from him the right to propose candidates for the head of the HIDAA. The appointment of the head of the HIDAA by the Assembly on the proposal of the President is a mechanism that ensures the independence of the High Inspectorate of Declaration and Audit of Assets, said Bulukbashi. He further stressed that with the removal of this function of the President, the Meta-Rama duo will eventually undo the HIDAA's independence. The independence of this institution is fundamental to the credibility of the fight against corruption. Having the HIDAA under their control, the corruption-free status will turn into a shameful farce, he said. Bulukbashi declared that the Democratic Party denounces this new retaliation attack on the head of the state. This attack is in the wake of the attacks on the president's powers and on the independence of the institutions, he said. The majority is preparing for the removal of his powers as chief commander. The majority has also removed his power to propose candidates for the Supreme Court panel of judges. The sole purpose is political control of the Supreme Court and obliging the president to appoint only supporters of the Rama-Meta duo, he said. A man jumped into the Adriatic Sea while traveling by ferry on the Bari-Durrës line. The citizen who jumped from the ferry is Gentian Peta, 39 years old, from Gjirokastër. The event happened about 12 miles out from the port of Durrës. The ferry has now stopped offshore to launch a search operation for the missing passenger. The 39-year-old man, a father of 2 children, lived and worked in Germany, and today he was coming back to his family. The man's motivation for this very strange action is still unknown. After a series of explosive attacks in Fushkruya, the police have arrested 4 people. 4 people have been arrested in Fushkruya, and 2 others are wanted for involvement in the criminal activity of explosives trafficking. Police have released that the arrested people are Dorian Pitsori, Saimir Ayazi, Redi Ndreu, and Erald Bami. 100 sticks of TNT were found in their vehicle. They are suspected of being the perpetrators of the explosion at the police station in Fushkruya. 3 of them lived temporarily in Tirana. Yesterday evening, an explosive device was thrown in the back door of the Fushkruya Police Department. Fortunately, no one was injured in this event. An investigation has been launched by the Sector Against Drugs and Illegal Trafficking in collaboration with the Prosecution of Serious Crimes in Tirana. A series of explosive attacks in Fushkruya have alerted the police. The police station of Fushkruya was previously attacked on the 20th of January of this year and on the 3rd of March. Explosives have been used in all 3 cases. The Albanian government has completed a new fiscal package which will help the manufacturing business sector. This package was promised by the government in December, and it will be presented on Monday. The government was forced to review some legal measures for this sector, since it was one of the conditions of the socialist movement for integration, to voting for the fiscal package as a whole. The socialist MP and member of the Economic and Financial Committee, Evis Kushi, stated that the new package will improve the business climate. The new package for the manufacturing sector will be presented on Monday. This will create more security for manufacturers, will increase exports, and will open new jobs, said Kushi. The Socialist Party has also evaluated the report of the Bank of Albania for the first quarter of this year, in which economic performance was assessed. Kushi said that this report is the second positive assessment, following that of Standard & Poor's. Another positive signal comes from the report of the Bank of Albania, he said. According to the report in the first quarter, the economic indicators have significantly improved. Consumers' evaluation has started a positive trend. The new government and the measures they have taken to repay the debts has increased the confidence of the consumers. All these indicators clearly demonstrate the new optimistic climate that prevails in the Albanian economy. Another important step is expected to take place on Monday, when a new package for the manufacturing business sector will be presented, said Kushi. The rain has not prevented some members of the Social Society from protesting the murder of Kudret Kume, known as Ilia Kareli, in the Greek prison. They peacefully protested in front of the pyramid. They said that the case of Ilia Kareli shows how Albanian prisoners are treated in Greek prisons. They condemned the silence of the government on this issue. They called the government to react and stated that they will continue their protests. About 20 people participated in the protest. The young people said that there was not any proper organization, but they have gathered together through notifications on the social network, Facebook. They said that most people did not join them in protest because they were afraid of the police, because of the last incident they had with the police officers. Later, the protesters headed to the foreign ministry, calling for Minister Bushati's resignation. The Orthodox Easter holiday is often associated with the return of migrants who live and work in Greece. The highest figures were recorded at the border point of Kavaia in Girokastra and at the border point of Kapstica in Korça. According to the data released by the Border Department of Kavaia, it is learned that 5,500 Albanian citizens and 1,250 vehicles have entered Albania in the last 24 hours. Despite the high number, there is no long queue at the border point. This is due to the fact that most of them are traveling to Albania through the bus lines as a result of the Greek financial crisis. The same situation is present in Kapstica, where 5,048 nationals with 2,792 vehicles have crossed the border point in the last 24 hours without any problems. Christian believers are celebrating Easter on this Saturday evening. Orthodox and Catholic Christians will be waiting to celebrate the resurrection of Christ at midnight. Bishop Anastasios, the Archbishop of Tirana, of Durrës, and of all Albania, as well as Rok Mirdita, the Archbishop of the Diocese of Tirana and Durrës, congratulated all the believers. Archbishop Anastasios gave this message to the people. The resurrection of the Christ is filled with brilliant light. It radiates in all directions of the world. We should take this light into the depths of our being. We should see it in our minds, our hearts, and our faces, which are so often overwhelmed by melancholy and anger. Brothers and sisters, Christ is risen. Happy Easter. Archbishop Mirdita also gave his blessing. Pains and failures and the suffering of innocent people are present in our society, in our cities and our villages. The risen Christ says to every suffering man, "Do not be afraid." He says to every woman and man, "Do not be afraid." The risen Christ fills everyone's life with happiness and hope. Happy Easter, said Archbishop Mirdita. Pope Francis has led the Easter Way of the Cross procession in Rome with prayers for the poor and the abandoned. The solemn ceremony marks the Christian commemoration of Christ's crucifixion on Good Friday. Tens of thousands of people lined the route near the 2,000-year-old Colosseum. The Pope listened to the Vatican's official preacher, delivering a sermon denouncing greed and the love of money. The procession is part of the Church's three-day Easter festival. Pope Francis urged the crowd to remember all the abandoned people and spoke of the monstrosity of man when he lets evil guide him. Evil won't have the last word, but love, mercy, and pardon will, he added at the end of the Way of the Cross. The sermon spoke of the injustice of human trafficking and suffering caused by environmental damage. Money is behind every evil in our society, the preacher declared. On Saturday night, Pope Francis will attend an Easter Vigil Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. Easter services will then conclude on Sunday with a Mass celebrating Jesus' resurrection. The Pope will deliver his twice-yearly Urbi et Orbi message, which means to the city and to the world. On Thursday, the Pope washed the feet of 12 disabled people in Rome as part of the Holy Thursday service commemorating Christ's Last Supper. He broke with tradition by washing the feet of several women and a Muslim man in a ceremony traditionally restricted to men only. "12 kilos of marijuana have been seized by the border police of Kakavia in Gjirokastër. 2 men have been arrested in connection with this, both of them owners of an agency of the Vlora-Athens bus line. It is learned that they built a compartment above the tire of the bus in order to hide the narcotics. Police forces restricted all the passengers from leaving, and at the end of the investigation, they discovered that the men Shola and Beloma were the ones responsible for the traffic of the narcotics. The rest of the passengers were left free to continue their journey to Athens, while the authors of this criminal activity were arrested. The Cultural Association Liberia has evaluated some of the personalities of this area. 6 personalities of the area of Liberia were honored by the Homeland Cultural Association. The association has honored Professor Birche Hasko, Moikom Zecho, and the investor Agim Siraku with the title of Distinguished Personality of Liberia. Saimir Strati, Eno Pechi, and Novruz Dervishai were honored with the title The Gratitude of Liberia. The head of the Supreme Court Directorate of Control, Buyar Leskai, was present at the ceremony. He praised the contributions given by these personalities and gave an award to Eno Pechi's father. The activity ended with the traditional music of the area. These assessments were made to convey to the future generations the respect that the young people and also all the provinces of Liberia should have for intellectuals or artists that honor this area. The EU Chief of Foreign Affairs, Baroness Catherine Ashton, has responded to the letter sent by the President of the Republic of Kosovo, Atifete Yahyaga. Baroness Ashton has accepted the request to continue the mandate of the European Mission for the Rule of Law, EULEX. The Special Representative of the European Union and EULEX will continue to help the institutions, justice authorities, and agencies of the application of the law in Kosovo to further strengthen the independent multi-ethnic justice system and the multi-ethnic police service in their advancement toward fulfilling the European standards in their respective domains, said Ashton in her letter. Speaking on the Special Investigating Task Force created in the framework of the European Mission and for any judicial procedure that emanates from this unit, Ashton said that they will continue until the European Union Council notifies Kosovo that the respective inquiries and procedures have been closed. Kosovo, like the other parts of the Western Balkans, has a European perspective. Through the application of its mandate, EULEX will continue to contribute to the progress of Kosovo toward further integration in the EU, said Baroness Catherine Ashton in her letter, sent to the President of the Republic, Atifete Yahyaga. This Easter, religion has become part of the electoral strategy in Macedonia. Political parties in the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia have not spared their involvement and the use of religion for purposes of gain in the April 27th elections during this electoral campaign. This situation has been beneficial especially for Macedonian parties, which have taken advantage of Easter. But on the other hand, Albanian parties too have not abstained from religious messages. The rhetoric of these elections continues to focus on the visits to churches, mosques, monasteries, and illustrations through different photographs. Religious communities and religious organizations say that parties are holding a campaign by using religion in order to attract voters who are committed to religion or through a vocabulary that encourages religious hatred in order to attract as many voters as possible. Knowing our reality, where we have localities known as religious fanatics, especially in Skopje, where the Muslim religion dominates, parties are focused on the religion vocabulary between Muslims and Orthodox, says Suleiman Fetiu. A professor of theology, Ilija Acevesky, says that religion cannot be misused in electoral campaigns. Those who are holding battles for power must not abuse their behavior against religion, because religion cannot be used during the electoral campaign. Politicians do this for their own benefits, said Acevesky. He said that with this strategy, politicians want to show that they are religious, that they have morals, and are just. The presidential candidate of VMRO, George Ivanov, and the other presidential candidate of the opposing LSDM, Macedonian Social Democratic League, Stivo Pandarovski, have prepared their agenda to visit churches and monasteries on the occasion of Easter. This subject has not been missing from their campaign speeches either. There are several messages bearing religious terms which have been constantly used by presidential candidates. We are men of faith and men of God, and we must help people with our commitment and faith. God cannot do everything for us if we don't act. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the news for this evening. We thank you for tuning in to us on this Saturday afternoon. Please join us again on Monday for more Albanian news in English. Thank you, happy Easter, and good night.